is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What is good, everyone? Welcome back into another episode of Ain't No Seats. Our buddy Ryan Reinhart is somewhere holding a golf club because he's addicted to the grind. I'm here with my brother, Anthony Bax, and we're here to talk about the 2-0 Kansas football Jayhawks. Starting 2-0 for the second straight year. The booth was electric on Friday night. The blackout, the students were great. The fans were great. It was loud. The Hawks defense was insane. Jalon Daniels was back. He was terrific. Anthony Bax, how pumped are you? How are we feeling? Do you have even more optimism about the team after the Illinois game? Tell me how you're feeling.
I feel like a Capri Sun, my dude. I am straight juice boxed right now. I can't believe how good they looked in the first half of that football game. I was nervous going into it. Part of me was like, oh, what if we just lose and everything we've been excited for the last 13 months kind of takes a hit? And from the jump, which was the most refreshing thing in the world to see, this team to get off to a fast start. And I mean, we'll talk about the second half, but they never felt like they didn't have complete control of that game. And to just dominate another Power 5 team like that, I don't want to get too excited, but it's kind of what we were talking about before the year. Like, this team's ceiling can be higher than we've really ever seen if everything goes to form and everyone keeps progressing, and it seems like that's the case. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that game just made me so happy, and I'm so glad we're back.
Yeah, and obviously Illinois is one of the games you look at before the year, and we almost said not like season defining, but it can really make or break the season. I mean, you start 1-1, and then obviously you'll have a tough Texas game coming up. But that was the game we really looked forward to. We knew the spread was going to be tight. We knew Bielema was a good coach, and I think the thing we worried about was KU in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Just because obviously Illinois is really good up front on both sides. They got an NFL prospect on their defensive line, and I thought KU just dominated all night. I mean, Devin Neal, he had 10 carries for 120. And then Highshaw had 8. He had 12 carries for 98. So, and it felt like KU left a lot of points on the board too. So, But like you said, the first half, I've seen a lot of KU fans talk about how that was the most complete half of the Leipold era. And it really was close to perfect. I mean, old KU, I think we were up 17-7. I think old KU teams just take that into the locker room, take a knee or run it once and see, see if you can put a drive together. But JD, I think Highshaw had a run to start off the drive, and then JD rolls out right, throws it to Luke Grimm, and Grimm makes an outstanding catch. But JD was, as good as you could ask for, really. There was a 3rd and 5 in that first half, and looked like a defensive tackle had him in the backfield, and he evades it, finds Lawrence Arnold. And just, what were your thoughts on JD on Friday night?
It just looks so natural. I don't know. Like we always say, we're very blessed to have one of the better backup quarterback situations around. I mean, Bean's awesome, but it just looks different with Jalon out there, man. It just looks like they have more flexibility with what they can do. It looks like they have, it's just his ability to get it. He's not as fast as Jason Bean, but he's the shiftiest person I've ever seen in my entire life. He and Neal were making dudes fall out of their shoes all night long for Illinois. Yeah. And it's just the things that Jalon can do. It's like watching Mahomes sometimes. Like, you think he's wrapped up. You think he's about to be brought down. You think the play's dead. Next thing you know, he's outside around the whole line, and he's running down the sideline looking for someone to throw to, pointing around, and bam, finds someone. 50-yard pass, 25-yard pass. Like, it's shockingly how similar they look sometimes just in those types of plays. And obviously Jalon's not the MVP of the NFL yet, but for college football, man, that's why he's the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Like, he's special, and he's just got something to him that it's really, really, really fun to watch when everything's clicking and everything's on. And it was so good to see that again.
He has that swagger and energy too that just gets not only everyone on the sideline fired up, but everyone in the stands too. And I remember at halftime, I was walking around like, please, just thinking in my head, please give us a full year of JD, because I want to see the type of numbers he can put up under Kodal, Nicky, and with the 2 elite backs we have. But I guess you look at our schedule down the road. If JD's healthy, how many games on the schedule do you go into and just be like, we can't win this game? Like I feel confident looking ahead. We'll probably talk about this in a little bit, but I feel confident almost against anyone. You give JD the ball. It's a guy that obviously threw for 500 yards against Arkansas, put up bowl game records. He can throw for 300, 400 a night. He can keep drives alive with his legs, have 100 yards rushing. Like, this offense can put up 40 points, I personally think, against anyone in the country, not anyone in the country, but anyone in the league, obviously in Iowa State, really good defense, but I think our offense, can hang with anyone in the league.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing that was most impressive to me, and you talked about a little bit, dominating up front, that's like how Illinois is supposed to be built to play, like to just beat teams like Wisconsin and Nebraska and Iowa and the teams they play every year. And KU was awesome getting things out to the edge and the perimeter and, using the speed advantage to them. But it just, even running up the middle, I was talking to Nick about this before, the draw plays they run in, it's just like our guys are so patient and holes were opening up in the middle of the field that I would have never guessed we would have had an option at consistently going to before that game started, just knowing what we know about like the identities of the program. It felt like a speed versus power matchup, and we turned it into okay, we'll take speed and power and turn it against you guys like both ways and dominate, march up and down the field every way you can imagine.
See, that's what felt pretty good before the game. I think we kind of nailed it last week with how KU needed to start quick. Mm-hmm. And we didn't last year. That was the issue. That's probably another change the staff made. Like, the staff's so good and everyone's so disciplined, and it's crazy how smooth things are. Like, you leave the Missouri State game on that Friday, like wishing they would have beat them by more. And then you do it on Friday night too against Illinois. It's like there's so much more room for improvement for our offense, which sounds crazy. Because they put up, how many points did they score Friday?
34, but they turned it over 3 times in Illinois territory.
That's what I'm saying. So they were up 34-7. Throw a pick in the end zone, you fumble inside the 20, and then you get a turnover on downs late on like a 4th and inches where they ran like a toss. So KU, it's easy to say, and I know teams are going to turn it over in games, but very easily should have scored 40 plus, and they definitely could have scored 50 plus. So it's like, just thinking about how good the offense could be at the end of the year, all these guys playing more, the O-line getting more reps together, is just scary to think about.
Mm-hmm. And Illinois could stink too by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not Houston of last year where they just completely collapse and that win doesn't mean as much as we thought it did going into it. But like I said before, you blow a team out that plays in the Big Ten, pretty impressive regardless, unless it's like a bad Northwestern team like this year, or Rutgers from a few years ago when we beat them by 30 points the day was born. But Illinois won, what were they, 8 wins last year?
Yeah.
They've got a top 10 pick on that defense. They've got another dude that's going to be probably day 2 guy. Like, they've got dudes still. It's just because they lost some guys doesn't mean they don't have a lot of talent around still and a really good coach. But
yeah, that's kind of my thing too, is I feel like obviously rival fan bases are going to hate us and discredit our wins, but you ask them before the game or before the season, they would say KU would lose to Illinois. It's kind of like the Houston game last year, where I remember tweeting, because KU was trying to get, or there was discussions about getting out of that game because they were going to join the Big 12, and K-State fans were saying that we had no chance against Houston, and then they're down 14 at Houston and they end up going off, win that game. But that kind of felt like that same game this year, where you knew it was going to be a tight game. But obviously KU found a way to win. But I just feel like they discredit that win just because I guess maybe we made things tough on Illinois. Our defense was great. They're supposed to be really good in the trenches. Like you said, they won 8 games last year. Their over-under was like 6.5 wins. And the spread was what, 3.5? So I guess it's easy to say Illinois sucks and it's a Big Ten team and they're boring, but it's like KU went out there, took care of business. They went up 34-7. They were dominant on both sides. Illinois obviously scored some touchdowns late and kind of a busted run on 3rd and 18 by Altmaier. which was, I don't know where everyone was on our defense, but yeah, I just don't get how you can discredit beating a Big Ten team, especially what KU's been through the last 10 or so years. So I thought it was an impressive win. Before the year, I probably would have said we'd lose just because Bielema, Big Ten. I know it's at home, and they have a good quarterback too. I think he's better than people give him credit for. He's a top 120 recruit. Went to Ole Miss. I think that just shows you how far we've come since Lance was hired.
On the opposing fan bases, it's just like exhausting. I'm trying to stay out of it on Twitter at least this year because I don't really want to spend my Saturdays tweeting at people I'll never meet in my entire life, arguing on things that we're never going to agree on. But like, what are we supposed to do? I seriously think if we went out and beat Georgia tomorrow in Athens, they would say, well, Georgia lost, so look how many dudes they lost last year. They're not that good. Like, it's just, there's nothing we're going to be able to do to impress them or to make them say that, hey, this is a good team. Because every tweet you saw was Illinois belongs in FCS. Illinois is the worst Power 5 team in the sport. Illinois is this. Illinois is that. Not one time did they say anything, oh, this
about
defense
KU
looks a little spicy, This defense wrote this down. So that play you talked about, the Altmaier touchdown run, 72 yards. Obviously, you can't take plays out and then look at stats and treat them as those are the full stats. But you take one broken play, scrambled touchdown away. Illinois ran 27 times for 67 yards. That's 2.48 yards per carry. KU run defense against a team, like we were saying earlier, wins games by running the ball. Held them to 2.5 yards a carry. Like, that's what are we supposed to do? Like, last year, even when we're winning games, like, the defense wasn't bad. So it's like, yeah, and that's where it's different to me. Last year, we were just outgunning teams, and the offense was great, and it was fun, it was exciting. But there wasn't an optimism that I have now that this is like a legitimately good football team, it appears. And every question I had on defense seems to be answered. And it made me wonder how everyone, including us, just sat here all summer and all spring thinking about KU football and said their defense was awful last year. And pretty much everyone on that side of the ball is coming back. They're just running it back on defense. And not one person had the balls to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this same group of guys that were 18 to 20 years old, maybe they progressed a little bit. Maybe they got used to the new staff that came in. We talked about it like there wasn't spring practice the year Leipold came in. These guys were still learning as of last year. The defense just figured it out. What if they just it's another year playing together, another year of experience being around each other, and they're young kids that are they go to college football. That's not what they are the rest of their career. They can get better. They're allowed to do that. And if that's going to happen and a couple transfers come in like this Austin Booker kid who that targeting was just so bad.
Definitely get into that.
It just not one person ever considered the idea that, hey, maybe they could just improve with what they have in-house. And it might not, they're not going to be an awesome defense all year probably, but I don't know. It just blew my mind thinking about that the other night that no one had the thought that maybe they could improve themselves.
Yeah. Let's get into the defense here shortly, but before we do that, let's talk about one of our sponsors, Home Field Apparel. Obviously, we love them. We've messed with them before they even sponsored us. So seen their stuff for a long time. Their stuff's amazing. You know that, comfortable. They always take care of us. Their designs are elite. We always talk about this every episode, like even other schools' gear. We talk about wearing that stuff. They have vintage look. Like I would wear any of the stuff. Maybe not K-State stuff or Mizzou.
Their stuff's so sick though.
Yeah.
I'm almost jealous of the K-State stuff.
I know. Yeah, they got the lavender stuff and all that. So yeah, Home Field's amazing. We love them. We really appreciate everything they do for us. But you guys should definitely go check them out. Home Field Apparel. If you use discount code NoSeats23, you get 15% off. HomeFieldApparel.com. Go check out their KU collection. Like I said, they have a bunch of different colleges, all the local schools. If you're a K-State fan, listening to us talk about our incredible football team, go check out K-State stuff. It's fire. Mizzou fans, you too. So Home Field Apparel, we love you. Great stuff.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
So let's definitely talk about the defense some more. I definitely want to see them, I guess, play more high-powered offenses, but you obviously got to like what you see so far. I mean, Missouri State's obviously not high-powered. I don't think Illinois has the athletes or the quarterback to really get in a shootout. That's why I thought it was so important to start fast. But like you said, this defense, they returned pretty much everyone besides Lonnie. Wish he would have came back, but the defensive line looked amazing, getting pressure all night. We had 6 sacks, 9 tackles for losses. The secondary was great. Like, they didn't give up really many big plays besides the long run, which was they were in a tough spot. I mean, it was 3rd and 17, so the defense had done their job up to that point. But I guess you just talked about the defense. How do you feel about them overall, and how do you feel about the improvements they've made from last year?
It's very encouraging stuff. I feel like even against teams like Illinois, because I don't think Illinois is as bad as Iowa State was last year, but even against I don't know, teams on Illinois' level this year, I feel like they'd still be giving up 28-31, and they just go have to outscore them. This felt like true, generated pass rush. We know our secondary, at least with Kobe and Kenny Logan, can be pretty solid. That's always a good start. But like I was kind of hinting at earlier, they just look like they play together really well. They look like they're super into it, and they were clearly fired up. That had to have been the message coming out, was let's get a stop right away and let's just build momentum. And it felt like they were riding that for a while. But again, 6 sacks for this team, it's just stuff that we don't really see ever. And pass rush was a lot of people's biggest concern. And I'm not saying they're going to get 6 sacks every game, but the fact that they showed it against a team that prides themselves on being big and physical, especially up front, is, again, something I had never even considered a possibility going into that game. So I would say that's the biggest thing for me, is the pass rush coming through, because we're going to need that once we get playing these Big 12 teams that are throwing the ball 60 times a game. You know, if we play whoever, maybe Oklahoma, Texas, whoever.
Yeah, and obviously if the pass rush is elite, that helps out the secondary even more. And the secondary's been super solid. Mello Dotson, Kobe doesn't get to play first half against Nevada, but they stink. I guess we'll get into them in a little bit. But I personally think the coaching staff probably sent a message to our guys up front on defense, just because there's been so many people I've talked to, like even fans or people that cover the team or people around the program, that have just talked about Illinois. When they talk about them, they just talk about them in the trenches. So that's been a massive thing. I mean, their offensive line was obviously huge. They got a stud D lineman and a bunch of pass rushers. So I think they took it personally, and it's crazy seeing that. And we talked to Nick, our producer, before this. He talked to someone from Illinois who said, like, KU had the better athletes. KU was like beefier, had the bigger dudes. And I guess credit to Gildersleeve, the strength and conditioning coach, because I've never seen like a Kansas football team since at least Mangino, or maybe before, I guess, just look different. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but a bunch of just rocked up dudes. Pause, but and just athletes, dude. You can just tell these dudes are different. Just had I think just working in the off season. They're so motivated, and it's such a tight knit group. I feel like they love playing for each other. Like, there was a video of JD and Jason Bean dapping each other up before the game. JD was about to go out there, and Jason Bean dapped him up. He's like, I'm right here. Like, I always got you, bro. Like, that's so cool to me. Jason Bean's just a great dude, great player, was going to leave, be gone. And JD's obviously younger than him. Bean's been doing it. And Bean's he's content. He's a great teammate, and he's going to be ready to step up if he needs to come in and play a down or whatever he needs to do. But I just love this group, and they love playing football. The staff gets them so prepared, and it's just crazy how far ahead we are from when we hired Lance. Like, you sit there and think, how many coaches, and it's probably easy to just start naming the big names, but how many coaches around the country could turn around Kansas, a program that was literally in the basement, like terrible, worst Power 5 program in the country. They go bowling in less than 2 years. Like, they got here 2 years ago, and they're just so competent, and everything's so smooth, and they're so disciplined. And So like it's insane to me. I don't know how many coaches in the country could do what Lance has done, but it feels like every week KU is going to go compete, or they're at least going to play smart football and not make those crazy mistakes that old teams did, like under Charlie Weiss and stuff. So I don't know if we really have an answer for that about how many coaches could do this, but obviously Lance was regarded as a top 10, top 20 coach in the country before we hired him. Like, so he was already highly regarded, and I was getting in kind of like a Twitter, not really an argument, but someone was saying Leipold has zero case to make for being the best coach in the Big 12. And it's like, yeah, he hasn't done crazy stuff at Kansas, but he's not going to do that right away. He's not going to start winning 8-10 games playing for Big 12 titles. So it's like, you can say that, but that's really your only argument. And I don't know.
Who are they taking?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you got
Kleiman.
Campbell. Campbell's kind of fallen off the last few years, but yeah, Kleiman. God, who else? I mean, Sonny Dykes. Yeah, Mike Gundy's. Yeah. Gundy's been doing it forever. Sonny Dykes. But they said
no arguments. By the thing that's holding me back is the no argument thing. It's like, I don't know if I'd put Leipold at 1, but the fact you're not putting him at 7 with no shot to get up there, like.
Yeah, because what's he got to do? He's got to come here and run the table after taking over a winless program.
Yeah, and I know it's early to judge. It's year 2.2, whatever. But still, like you were saying, how many guys come into this program the way it was? This is Bill Snyder kind of shit. And it's way early on, but it's like this program was down in the dumps. No one cared. There were 1,000 people at some of these games. And that's the biggest thing with the transition. We went from, 3,000, 4,000 people showing up. The student section just couldn't have looked worse. To now we're hosting primetime Friday night football games. Last minute blackout that the students all went in for pretty much. Filled it to the top, filled it early, and it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable to see just how much different the program is in general. Because of a guy and a bunch of his friends, and I know that's not actually the case, but kind of what it feels like. Just a bunch of dudes that came in that have been together for a while, know how to win, and they implemented in the spot that felt like the most hopeless in the country. Yeah,
and they grind, dude. Like, they're program builders and culture changers, and that's kind of been their thing this whole time. And Lance obviously probably could have got a different job. I'm not saying he's going to stay here forever. We hope he does, but he seems content. I think he just wanted that Power 5 job, and now I get way too excited about what he could turn us into because what he's already done. But just thinking about, I'm just sitting here thinking about the first year. Even he comes here, winless program. I remember the speech on the field where he's telling all the players, like, we will win here. And it felt real right there. Maybe I'm a homer, but even like that's all of the previous staff's players, people, the staff before them even. And he brings a couple guys from Buffalo, I guess, and they are already competitive by the end of the year. Now, they weren't winning a ton of games, but they were hanging with, a lot of close games. And then, I think everyone just – the hype was built from there. And then the next year we obviously started competing, and now it just – God, Kansas could be ranked soon again. We were obviously ranked last year, but I just think it's insane what they're doing. And I don't know if you ever think about we're close to the top 25. I think they were 29th in the poll today is what our producer says. But I don't know if you ever sit there and think about what we could be in the future because it's so hard to tell. I mean, you never know, but college football playoffs obviously expanding. Oklahoma and Texas are leaving. And I know Goff the other day was saying, like, why can't this be one of the premier programs in the Big 12? I mean, you obviously got K-State, who's really good. I personally think we can get on their level. I know they've been good for a long time. Kleiman's great. I'll never take credit away from them, but I just think Kansas is a great brand, big brand, and I think we can keep local kids around. And Lance has shown he can land transfers. He's shown he can get after it in the recruiting trail. And so I just sit there and wonder what kind of level he can take us to. So I don't know if you think about that or if you have any takes on that, but I think it's super exciting to think about.
Yeah, I don't think about it a whole lot, but now that you say it, I think K-State's got to be like the goal, right? Like, and they might get half chub me saying this, but if we can become a program that wins somewhere between 6 to 10 games a year And, it's like 1 in every 10, you win 10. And then most every year you're in a bowl game. You just have a lot of pride around the program. Like, that's, to me, the ceiling of this program. I hope that doesn't sound harsh, because we trash on K-State's like inflated ego every once in a while. But in all seriousness, like, if KU had K-State's football program, we are the most happy people in the history of sports fans, because I don't know about you, but KU football is never going to be higher than KU basketball for me in terms of like interest and X's, like detailed interest of the program. And that's just from almost 30 years of caring about it. But the football team, it's like, keep us interested, keep us going, get us through the fall and early winter. And, and it can be more than that. It's been more than that for the last couple of years, but I think that's what they would shoot. That's what they should shoot for, is consistently playing in a bowl game once every couple recruiting cycles, maybe have it all come together and go get your 9 wins.
Yeah. And obviously the Big 12 is going to be loaded, a ton of teams, but I just think potentially Leipold could have Kansas as one of the top programs in the Big 12. I mean, as long as he stays here, they're going to continuously keep getting better. You put a good product on the field, fans are going to show up, you're going to get recruits. No matter who they get, I mean, they're going to coach them up and they're going to become good players, because all these dudes are bought in and stuff. But let's talk about the targeting calls a little bit. Obviously, I think I don't know if you saw my tweet. I was at the game somehow getting cell phone service, which shout out to
I was surprised
the higher ups at the booth, or the higher ups at KU getting cell phone service at the booth. I was like tweeting videos that I took. It was nuts. But I tweeted the Austin Booker video when he got ejected with targeting. They reviewed it. I think a lot of people in the stadium didn't think it would be upheld. I thought they would change it. So I don't know if you saw my tweet, but it's just literally 50-50 people saying I'm a dumbass. Half the people saying I can't believe this is football. What happened to my sport? Let's play two-hand touch. So I guess talk me through that play, what you thought, maybe what you thought now, and just what you think about targeting in general and kids getting ejected.
Yeah, I don't think this one was as bad as, we can talk about the Kobe one later, but this one seemed, I never considered targeting to be a thing if it wasn't like head-to-head contact or like launching yourself into someone. But it just, I guess by the book it's targeting, but it's like, if that's targeting, what are we doing? Like, where is he supposed to hit him? He can't hit him low because they're going to call him for that. You can't hit him high because that's too close to the head. He hit him right in the chest. And I know there was a little bit of lead with the helmet, but it looked like he turned his head a little bit at the end. It's like,
it's not like you're
if
thinking
that's
about
the
it
kind
either.
of stuff that you're suspending guys for, like essentially 2 halves of football, one in the game that's currently going on and one the next week, like you're letting that linger on for a week. I know you're trying to get it out of the game, but it's like, God, just almost a judgment call with a million different ways to have a gray area mixed in there. It's like, there's got to be a better system than just, targeting, you're done for the next, week and a half. So we'll see you second half next week. And if it's the biggest game of the year, it doesn't matter. There's no appeal process. There might be, I think, with the conferences, but it's just, it seems crazy to me. And I think my issue is more with the rule in general. It's there in a good place. Like, they're doing it, thinking the right thing. But at the end of the day, some of these calls are just so stupid and pointless. And it's like, what are we even doing right now? Like, what are you trying to get out of the game?
Yeah, and obviously we've watched football for a long time, and there's obviously some targeting where guys kind of purposely do it, but it felt like Austin Booker's obviously he's going to try to make a play. He wants more playing time, and he was great Friday night, but just feels like a football play. Like, he's going full speed at a quarterback, hits him perfect timing, and he's ejected, and now he's out for the first half unless they can appeal it or whatever against Nevada, which shouldn't be a massive deal, but I just think it's crazy. And I don't know how this would work, but like maybe there can be a judgment call. Like, call targeting or give him 15-yard penalty, but maybe there's a judgment call on ejecting a guy or not. Like, if a guy blatantly does it and he's trying to fucking kill someone or hurt him, then kick him out of the game. But if a guy goes and tackles someone, or like Jacoby's was, I didn't really get a great look at it. I think he kind of hit him with his shoulder. But I don't even know what you do there. I guess you take his legs out or you just wrap him up. I don't know how you feel about that call, but I'm sitting there with my dad and he's like, you got to tackle him by the legs. It's like, you can't really just like slow down and tackle him a certain way. Like, just make a play. And the quarterback left him out to dry. Kobe obviously nailed him. And Austin Booker, I thought the quarterback broke his ribs, but what were your thoughts on the Kobe one?
The Kobe one looked a little more like it, not more the contact, but like it was almost to me like a hockey hit that a guy would get in trouble for, because he was like almost jumping into this dude to hit him and not just like, I don't know, running in to make the tackle. It still looked kind of soft. It wasn't your typical helmet to helmet targeting where you spear in, I'm trying to dive for the ball or something, but I think that one was more, I can see where they're coming from. He literally, from foot to head, launched his entire body kind of into him right before contact. So like I can kind of see that a little more than the, Booker dove at this guy's chest and his head may have been in there a little bit. Like, because what seemed a little different to me.
Like, what if, Jacoby obviously could have tackled him differently, but what if like Jacoby just slows down and barely tries to wrap him up and put him down? He misses the tackle, the guy goes and scores, and then the coaching staff's pissed at you, and you feel like you let your teammates down. So it feels like you obviously got to make a play, get someone on the ground. I'm not saying you got to tackle guys certain ways, but in the heat of the moment, when a guy's running across the middle, like just instincts take over, I guess. Obviously, everyone says it's hard to just stop full speed. So, yeah, I don't know what Austin Booker really could have done. Maybe just bear hug him and set him to the ground. But it's just crazy. Even after the game, just talking to some friends, like we've seen people in the college football playoff get targeting in the second half, and they missed the national championship game. Like, that's wild to me. You kick someone out that's playing in one of the biggest games of their lives. Like, they're not maliciously out there trying to hurt people or end people's careers. So I think it's wild that they still get kicked out. Some players probably deserve to get kicked out, but I don't know. I just think maybe it needs to be looked into more. Like, maybe you just review it and see how malicious it was, like I said, but it's just crazy to me that you miss an entire half. Like, say BYU, say we're beating them in the second half and two of our best defensive players get targeting and they're out for the Texas game for the first half. Like, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And it just got all the targeting replays. There was a point in that, I think it was into the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, where about 2 minutes of game time went through, and there were 4 different reviews from whether it was scoring reviews or there were like 3 targeting reviews back to back to back. It's just exhausting. It's so exhausting. I really think that's the biggest thing that the enhanced targeting rules has done, is add more commercial breaks and add more video replay and piss more people off. I don't know the stats on it on the safety, but it's too much, man. It's too much.
Yeah, should we go into another break? Do a little DraftKings ad read?
Let's do it, Braiden.
Best book in the game that I win so much money on.
That's what they want from you, huh? Well, Braiden, so you said it. Football is back in full swing with another week of epic games, and who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? The one Braiden just said, that's DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of new 2 offers every game day this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code KCSN to sign up. New customers, again, if you bet $5, you take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.sot1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in on the app. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after Issuance, eligibility, and deposit restrictions apply. That is DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code KCSN for $200 in free sports bets.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Speaking of DraftKings, I was a little nervous Friday night about the Hawks covering when probably shouldn't have been up 34-7. Altmaier breaks the run, whatever. But I wanted to ask you about a couple more calls because I didn't get great looks at these either. They were after the targeting on Booker. I think they ended up getting the 2-point conversion, called it in, and then reviewed. And a lot of people told me that he still wasn't in after the review. I have no idea. So that's one. And then the other, I think, was Highshaw. He ran one up the middle, looked like he got the first down. They reviewed it. Fans were already furious about the targeting calls. So they were going nuts, and it looked like he got it. So I don't know if it was built up frustration or what, but what did you see on those two calls? Because I didn't get a great look.
I'm going to sound like the worst podcast co-host of all time right now. I've watched so much football the last 2 days that trying to remember those two plays, I can't. Well, I think the Highshaw one, and I remember the 2-point conversion like happening. I just don't remember the specifics, and there were so many reviews at that point. They all just blended together, and I was kind of like, this game's a blowout. Okay. Let's just get back to the game. The Highshaw one, if I'm remembering right, it looked like he got it, but he didn't get it, and then we didn't end up getting the first down.
Yeah, we didn't get
it. Something like that happened, like later on in the drive. I don't know. Yeah. But vaguely, I can remember being pissed off because it looked like he got it fairly easily with the blind eye, and then, next thing you know, it's second and inches or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's just wild because they got both 2-point conversions. They're up 27, and then I don't know what line everyone got, but me and my buddy were there both with KU -4 tickets. They get it to 11, and they would have scored and went for 2. If they would have scored late, they would have went for 2 to get it to a 3-point game. So it would have been just nervous. But
I was prepping to see that on SVP Tuesday night with Bad Beats. Yeah. I was just ready to see KU's field, just like, hey, look at this, KU up 34-7 against Illinois, but you wait.
Yeah, no, that 2-point. I mean, that's why I was just wondering, because obviously if they cover that 2-point conversion would have been massive. They would have been down 13 instead of 11. And then the Highshaw run would have just put the game away. They probably could have needed it at that point, if I remember correctly. But another DraftKings reference, just looked, KU's -27.5 Saturday night in Reno, Nevada. They just lost like 33-6 to Idaho at home. And then they played USC week 1, which we can't judge that game too much. Caleb Williams is decent at football, but how do you feel about that line? I guess we kind of started off slow against Missouri State. And does Andy Kotelnicki open the playbook, or does he save some stuff for the upcoming games?
I hope he saves some stuff. I was kind of surprised by the line. I didn't really know what to expect, but I didn't expect KU to be a 4-touchdown favorite on the road, even if it's against maybe the worst team in FBS. But yeah, man, it feels comfortable. It feels good. And I have no feel on if they're just going to go out and blow them out or if they're just going to go in and try and get the win and get home. Kind of hope it's the second one of those. But yeah, seeing KU as a 28-point road favorite in a football game is something that, I mean, it doesn't seem right, but it's spot on and it's valid. And I think that honestly, obviously Nevada sucks, but even last year when we were 5-0, 4-0, whatever, even the lines in Vegas, I feel like were still like super disrespectful and think that this was fluky. I remember we were a 10-point underdog at Oklahoma when OU had just lost 60-0 to TCU. And I feel like all the lines, every time we went on the road, we were still more than a touchdown dog. We were dogs at home a lot, if not every single game. So like seeing the respect both with being favored against Illinois, being a 4-touchdown favorite against a team you should hammer, it feels good to know that we're not the only ones that should trust KU or have confidence in KU to go out and put up a big number against anybody.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this too. How much of a different feeling do you have this year from the 2-0 start compared to last year? Like last
Very.
year, yeah, it's wild to me. Like that West Virginia game was obviously electric. The pick six, they end up winning by 2 scores in overtime somehow, but it just obviously was the start of something. And they'd shown some strides the year before. We got our hopes up, and then we're like, okay, this team could be good. Now I kind of just get like I expect this team to take care of business feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not shocking to me. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but they just go out there, take care of business. They've pretty much been in control of both games. Missouri State, yeah, you can say it was close in the third quarter, but they weren't showing much. Being started. These first 2 games, it just feels like KU's just more athletic. They're more dominant. They're better coached than the teams we're playing. So it's just not a shock to me anymore.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. It's like last year. I mean, think about the lines. We were 14-point dogs to Westphal and won. It felt like it was unexpected and a crazy upset. Same thing with Houston. I think we were 10-point dogs at Houston. We didn't expect to win. Even on the pod, we were excited, but we're like, all right, Houston, they're probably going to beat us, but let's see what happens. So last year, it felt like we were just on this insane underdog run, almost like in March Madness when the 11 seed goes to the Final Four. And it's like, oh, they just keep on knocking everybody off. They keep on doing it. This year, like you said, it's expected. We're favored in these games. We're supposed to go in. We know the place is going to be packed. We know that we're the better team. That wasn't always the case last year, even though we were winning games. But yeah, it's completely different. It's what we expect now, and it's almost like the 2014 Royals. I always say that playoff run was more fun than the one that they actually won the World Series, because it was
a start.
It was brand new. We were so excited. We were so locked into every single pitch, and not that we weren't into it in 2015. It's just like, all right, now we expect to do that. Let's go out and do it, and let's go out and show them like
that's why they won it in 2015.
Right. So like, I don't know. Maybe they'll go out and win a Big 12 championship this year.
Yeah. And that kind of brought me to my next point. Like you said, last year, it kind of felt like a tournament run where you weren't like, I don't know if we'll beat Houston. I don't think we'll beat Iowa State. Their defense is too good. Now I'm to the point where I'll be super disappointed. I feel like I wouldn't say super disappointed, but I'd be a little upset if we don't start 4-0 and head into Austin 5-0, or head into Austin maybe for game day. They just beat Bama yesterday, I heard. So I'm all in on being 4-0. I expect them to be 4-0. BYU obviously won yesterday. They played, God, I don't even know who, but
Sacramento State or something.
Yeah, so I expect to be 4-0, and we're going to be at home. The place is going to be sold out. I've heard that game is supposed to be nuts, just from a fan base standpoint. Like, obviously, it's going to be sold out, but it's the first Saturday game. BYU fans, I'm sure, will travel and make it. It's the first time
Southern Utah
playing in the conference. So yeah, they played Southern Utah Saturday. But yeah, I expect to start 4-0. I don't know how you feel. I'm sure the BYU game can be a tight game. How do you feel about starting 4-0? And just, I guess, give me your thoughts on the rest of the schedule and just like a little look ahead.
I certainly expect to be 3-0, and I still don't know how to feel about BYU at all, really. I don't think they're great. I think we certainly can beat them regardless of how good they are, because I don't think their ceiling's super high, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's so hard to judge teams off 1 or 2 games against schools that we have no idea of. Like, they don't appear to be very good, but I think the ESPN analytic projector percentage thing that they show every time you open up a game in the future, I think it says KU's got like a 70% chance to beat BYU. So like, I kind of expect to be 4-0 as well. And I don't want to be crazy here. Texas winning at Alabama last night makes me more confident going into that game in Austin.
What are we going to have to lose going into Austin?
Absolutely
Obviously,
nothing.
Leipold expects to win every week. He's super competitive. You heard him say how he thought it was crazy. Fans were excited that they hung with Oklahoma that one year. So like, he has higher expectations, obviously expects to win every week. So going to go into it. If we're 4-0, we're going to go into it ranked. Could be game day. So there'll be a lot on the line. The guys might be nervous, but You just go in there, Andy Kotelnicki, with the craziest playbook, drawing the craziest shit up, throwing bombs, doing whatever. Like, you have nothing to lose. You lose to Texas, the rest of the country expects that. I hate that we're looking 3 weeks ahead right now, but that's what we do as fans. We get our hopes up and talk ourselves into crazy stuff. But yeah, that will be like obviously fans will be sad if it's tight and we lose, but you don't have much to lose going into Austin. So I feel good about being 4-0, and going into Austin, we talked about it too. They play Oklahoma the week after. I'm sure Sark will have them locked in for us. They're trying to make it to the playoff. Can't really lose too many games, but you can't help but look ahead to Oklahoma a little bit regardless.
I can't. I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I think they're going 12-0, man.
Yeah.
It's freaking me out. No, I'm kidding. They're not going to
do that. Kansas? I thought you meant Texas.
No. The Jayhawks have. Kansas. But, I mean.
That's what I was going to say.
It's again, we talked about it does not look daunting. There's not a game we're going to go into and not at least have a shot. Like it was Fornelli earlier. They were talking KU Illinois, and he said, I don't think KU can beat Texas, but Jalon Daniels might be one of the only quarterbacks in the country that can give Texas problems or go shot for shot with Texas and keep up, which was cool to hear. But I don't know. At the end of the day, we're going to be ranked 18th at number 4. So,
yeah, it's going to be electric. I still think we should all go down there. I bought my tickets last night because I had to. I think it's the last time we'll play there till God knows when. But yeah, next 2 weeks, definitely got to take care of business. Can't overlook a Nevada team or BYU. I mean, Keaton Slovis is their quarterback, so he's been around. But yeah, just looking at the schedule, I don't know. We're 2 weeks in, 2 games in, obviously. How much you were confident before the season? I was confident too. We weren't saying anything crazy, but how much of your expectations changed? Where are you right now? And how many regular season wins do you think we get if you just had to pick?
I still think my number is 8-4 because in my 8-4, I had a starting 2-0. So I don't think I can change it too much, but I think I'm validated with the ceiling's higher than 8-4. We saw it in the first half. That's what I'm talking about. Best case, everyone's progressing, everything's coming together. That's what it was on
perfect
Friday
half.
In the first half. And they're not going to play perfect half every week. It's just not going to happen. They might not play a half that well again the rest of the year. But it's there, and that's kind of my point. If they can get to a point where it's there 70-75% of the game, and not perfect, but close to perfect, not shooting yourself in the foot like we did last year out so often. I'm sorry, that's just a team that can win 9-10 games. And I know it sounds crazy because the jerseys say Kansas, and they wear red and blue and black sometimes. And I get it. It doesn't seem natural, but look past all that shit, look past all the history, and look at the guys that are on the field now and on the sideline now, because it's a legitimate college football team. This has nothing to do with 2014 Kansas football.
Yeah, this just feels like a team that can hang with anyone any week in this league. I mean, last year, really just thinking about the offense, when really did the offense let us down last year? I know Iowa State game was ugly, but that's every game they play in. We were still moving the ball, especially in the first half. So I don't even know what our offense could do really to let us down. It feels like they're going to have a couple backs that rush for close to 100 in some games. JD's going to make throws, improvise. I thought he was so nasty Friday night. Kotelnicki, they jotted out both quarterbacks on the first play, which was kind of wild. But it just feels like our offense can hang with anyone. The defense is obviously improving another year under Brian Borland. UCF kind of looked stinky on Saturday, which is another look-ahead game.
Barely beat a backup quarterback. Barely beat a backup.
Yeah, so I'm not saying they stink. They'll be a problem. Miles Zahn's a good coach. John Rice Plumlee's good quarterback. So
can they throw the ball? Can UCF throw?
I don't think they throw it much. So KU, they got to commit, be good in the trenches. They have been so far. I mean, there really hasn't been many big explosive plays against our defense. 2 games in, besides the Altmaier run. So, I think we can beat UCF. And so I was really worried about them
dude.
after I was really worried about them after the Kent State game, which I don't know why, because they're the worst team maybe in the country. Just they looked explosive. They play up tempo. That was tough. That was difficult for us in Norman last year. Speaking of Norman, OU was in a tight one late against SMU too. I think it was 14-11, and then they scored a couple touchdowns. So it's at home. That's what I'm saying. Outside of Texas, OU, UCF, K-State, and Tech are the 4 that scare me. And
Tech
they're all they're finding ways to lose. Their offense is just really explosive, and Shuck can run and throw, and they'll probably be desperate at that point, maybe trying to make at least to a bowl game. They don't scare me, but I'm saying those are the most explosive offenses. Like, I expect us to beat Iowa State, even though it's there. Their defense is pretty nasty still, but those are the teams that I would have been worried about before the year, but they're all in Lawrence. Not saying the booth is Death Valley or the craziest in the country, but you're at home, you're comfortable. The crowd will be electric. They were so good Friday night. I had chills. Like, there was 2. I wish I wrote down when, but there was 2 moments in the game where it's like the loudest I've heard the booth in forever. Even last year, maybe it's prisoner of the moment thing, but yeah, the games that I'm worried about are all at home besides Texas. So maybe they squeak them out. Maybe they lose a tight one, but why is it crazy to say they could win 9 regular season games? Like, does 9-3 sound outrageous to you? No,
it doesn't. There's nothing that sounds outrageous to me.
Like, I'm sitting here thinking if I said 10-2, people in the YouTube comments will be like, "Wow, this guy."
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I do want to like. It's good that we're excited. I also don't want to get us in any trouble with like getting shit clipped in a few months if something goes wrong. But
it's fun to look ahead because they look better than I thought they would, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not starting to doubt them whatsoever. I'm not doing any of that. I just want to make sure that we're
as fans, I feel like we're allowed to look ahead a little bit.
Sure.
So
I 100%. I'm looking ahead as we speak right now because if we lose to Texas, I think we could be like 6-1 going into that Oklahoma game.
Another one is they won last night, but boy, does Oklahoma State look just stinky. They don't have a quarterback. I don't know who their guy's going to be going forward, if they're just going to keep rotating 3 quarterbacks in. Gundy had his son launching left-handed passes. Rangel was in there. Bowman was in there. So that feels like a team that, it's on the road in Stillwater. And I'm not saying they're bad. They're really well coached. So it'd be a tough game. But that's a game before the year. You see Oklahoma State in Stillwater as a KU fan, you're like, well, we're going to lose that game. But I feel great about that game. So
is Cincy good before we go? Is Cincy good?
That's going to be the last game of the year, obviously, at Cincy. I personally think they're better than people thought, at least before the year. I think Emory Jones is their starter from Florida. He transferred from Florida. They have a bunch of athletes, a bunch of transfers. So hopefully
they beat Pitt
I shouldn't
last
say
night.
that. I want there to be implications going into that Cincy game, but I think that could be a good game. So I don't know. I wanted to look
versus 8-3. Winner goes to Arlington to play Oklahoma.
I wanted to look forward with you for a little bit because, like, even the Texas game, it's 1,000% the best week to have them. If you could schedule Texas before the year, you say, "Give me Texas the week before Red River." Mm-hmm. So I love that. I'm not saying we're going to beat them, but the things that I would do if we do, like if we beat Texas in Austin the last time we ever play there, I'm kind of scared what you're going to do, but we'd probably be in the. God, I don't know why I'm doing this, but we'd be in the top 10 at that point.
There's no question.
Springer, our producer said I would get arrested. Yeah, I'll be in Austin. We should all go. I don't know if you guys
that's if we want to start dreaming. If we really want to start dreaming. I mean, boy.
I just feel good about 4-0. So that's why I want to look forward.
And this is where we get in trouble. But if we get through Texas and somehow win, we're 5-0. We come home. We get UCF. It's like
the booth.
Well, then wins the loss. Wins the loss. That's what I'll be saying to myself. But that's 3 weeks away. We got the Wolfpack one word this week in Reno, and we're gonna get a big W. I don't know if you want to give predictions, but I'm gonna say like 35-10. We're not going to cover, but we're going to control the whole game and kind of not put too much on the gas.
Yeah. Obviously feel great. They're one of the worst teams in the country. Not trying to discredit them. I don't know. Maybe we'll record this week. Probably not much to preview with them, but maybe get Rye on here spewing takes, and we can bully him for saying.
Oh, he's all in on Arlington though.
Yeah. That's why I am looking ahead and getting excited, because the Illinois game was kind of the thing that would set the tone. Because if you can start 2-0 and then you got a really bad Nevada team, and then you're back home against a team that you're going to be favored against, then you're really going to start looking ahead, getting excited about maybe an 8-9 win season. So the Illinois win was huge. They controlled the whole game. They were up 34-7. So it was great to see how good they were in the trenches. Hopefully we record this week. I'm not sure what, but we need to be putting out as much KU content as possible. Hopefully after 4 games, we can talk you guys into Kansas making the college football playoff, but we will see. AB, anything KU related, anything KU football related, anything life related?
I've been sick. I hope I don't sound too bad on tonight's show. But I'm getting better. I've got a golf tournament next weekend that I will not lose, but I've been saying it to myself since I found out this golf tournament was on next Saturday. I can't wait to play golf all day long, get drunk, come home, and watch KU football at like 10 o'clock at night. It just sounds like a childhood fall evening for me, where I'd get home from like the old Settlers Day parade, come home and get super cozied up on the couch and watch the late night college football game. Like, that was like my childhood. So I'm starting to get those vibes going into this weekend. I know it's a weird time. I know there's people that are kind of pissed on the Friday, 9:30 p.m. Saturday, first 3 games to the year. But
hopefully
I think
a good game time against BYU.
Yeah, and I think it's overall good, even though it's annoying, a Friday night game. No one's going to talk about KU Illinois in terms of a national perspective. No one's talking about that game if it's a 2:30 on Saturday yesterday. There's so many other games going on. No one's talking about KU Illinois. It's not going to happen. So like the fact that you're able to, you get your stadium on, you got your new plans going out on ESPN2. You got the Travis Goff interview on ESPN2. They interviewed Lance Leipold 3 or 4 different times throughout the game. Like, it was essentially a KU suck fest for 4.5 hours on Friday night. And that's the kind of stuff that I think helps elevate the program. And there's one more thing. I'm calling him out by name. I love this guy because he is a robot with college football. He will know if Toledo's left guard is out for the game and they're starting a freshman backup. This guy is a robot. He tweeted something. His name's Bud Elliott. Bud Elliott tweeted on Friday night, Andy Kotelnicki always makes safeties look like idiots. I don't know what his head coaching aspirations are, but if he wants one, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get a bag. And then all these people start replying with schools like Virginia and Florida and all these schools where they can't figure out offense right now. And we did it with Lance last year. I don't want to do it with Andy this year. I want these guys to stay in Lawrence until they die.
Yeah.
It's just like, but it's the problem with being good. Champagne problems, I guess.
Yeah, AK is incredible play caller. Our offense is just electric. They scored 34 points and you leave the stadium hoping they won by more, scored 50. So ton of room of improvement for the offense going forward, which sounds wild, but you got 2, maybe the best running back duo in the league. You got a preseason Big 12 player of the year behind center. So defense looks great. I just can't wait to watch KU every Saturday going forward. I feel like our energy was low tonight, but I think it's because I just feels, not saying we've been doing this forever, it feels normal, and they just take care of business, and I expected them to beat Illinois. I don't know if you remember, but some guy on your podcast said last week that we're going to get out to a fast start, and they're going to win by 7 to 10-ish points. Hawks win by 11. Mm-hmm. And they started fast, so he's pretty smart. But yeah, 4-0. No.
Touchdown, Tony Pollard.
No.
25-0 Giants are losing to the Cowboys.
25-0 Giants are losing to the...
Sorry. I know you're a Pollard boy tonight.
We're done.
ready to get
Rock
us
chalk, one game at a time, but let's go into Nevada when everyone better be in Lawrence for the BYU game. These guys have been playing their asses off for 2 years. The coaching staff is doing it for the fans. They're incredible. So everyone's got to be in Lawrence for the BYU game. Even if you don't have tickets, be there. I want the energy around Lawrence to be incredible. Let's beat Nevada first. Hopefully see you guys this week. Thank you for listening. We love you. Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, go KU.